Sports Live on a Friday. Going to have a fantastic show, a different type of show here on this day because it is the last show for Derrick Henry and really the last game for Derrick Henry, as I just realized in all my distracted pre-show prep. I got the wrong graphic up there, Sam. I got to flip the King's final ride up there. I deleted the wrong thing this morning, but we're going to have a strong show today. I was telling Sam right before we go live here that I didn't really think too much of this show. I know it's coming. I knew it was coming, but was telling Sam, you get a little older, you start getting a little emotional about things, but going to have a lot of fun on this show, reflecting and really appreciating what Derrick Henry has been for this organization, this city, the fan base, the media, everybody across the state and beyond that loves the Tennessee Titans, and that for Zach and I that have been invested in Tennessee Titans coverage for the last 8 seasons. So Sam, maybe emotional for me today. I don't know. I can't really predict what's going to happen, but going to have a good show. Hear from Derrick Henry quite a bit. We'll hear from his running backs coach, Tony Dews, on his favorite moment. And we'll hear from you guys on what your favorite Derrick Henry moment is over the last 8 seasons with the Tennessee Titans. And then a little Will Levis update, because I got the eyeball emoji up there behind the Will Levis injury update, Sam, because, man, this is turning a corner here, and I have a feeling I know what you're going to say later on in the show about Will Levis. But Sam, welcome in, and we'll wrap up the first week of this new year with some good news to wrap up the show on this Friday. Let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah, hey, let's do it. And I already see the chat coming in here, and people are already advocating for Derrick Henry to get re-signed by the Tennessee Titans this offseason. And I don't blame Titans fans for feeling that way, and it is certainly still a possibility, Austin. But I think you and I would both agree that we would be remiss if we did not take a moment, in case this is it, in case Sunday is the final time we see number 22 put on the two-tone blue, to pause, enjoy what we're going to witness, enjoy what is going to be the capstone of a fantastic career, and just appreciate Derrick Henry in case this is it. So this is not to say it's a guarantee, but an important show to at least show our appreciation for what Derrick Henry has been for the Tennessee Titans community for the last while. And so if you know somebody who wants to get involved in this morning's conversation, who loves Derrick Henry, who loves the Titans, or who you just think would enjoy hanging out with us every morning, make sure you introduce them to A to Z Sports and share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, hit the share button on the bottom of your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, take that YouTube link and send it to a friend. Same thing goes with Twitch as well. And you can repost us on Twitter and X and get the word out there as well. So that's what you got to do to support us and get the word out there before we kick things off on a Friday morning, Austin.
Absolutely. Let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the shows segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also, hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they truly make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to find out how much, where you can get your new car and trade in your old car if you need to as well. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the mid-state in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro, online at KrebsKubota.com. Sam, I was kind of telling you, as we've approached this Derrick Henry opportunity for us and everybody in the fan base and the media that covers Derrick Henry, all the different shows that talk about the Tennessee Titans, we all knew this day was coming, and we'll hear from Derrick Henry here in a second, but I don't remember exactly how long ago, but a month-ish ago or so, Sam, I got on here and I was just like, you know what? Titans fans need to show up for Derrick Henry. Remember that, Sam? Like, show up for Derrick Henry. he deserves your best. And so like I'd said that in a moment, like kind of organic, didn't plan to do that day, but now we're here. And it's something that I'd kind of thought like, all right, we've done a million Derrick Henry shows. We've done a lot of Derrick Henry content over the last 8 years, but now it is here. And Sam, like you were at the press conference yesterday. What was kind of before we hear from Derrick Henry at that press conference, what was the feeling around the rest of the media? This is just your second year covering the Tennessee Titans for us. But a lot of those media folks have been around for the entirety of Derrick Henry's 8 seasons thus far in two-tone blue.
Yeah, I would say it was actually pretty positive. I mean, I think any sort of sentimental, salute to Derrick Henry might take place after the game on Sunday. Derrick speaks to the media after the game every week. Part of that is because Derrick himself was not wanting to reminisce too much here before he puts on the uniform in week 18 and plays against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But it was his 30th birthday. He was at the podium speaking, which I also found very kind of ironic and kind of funny
Totally.
that like he goes throughout his entire Titans career and people are saying, well, how long can he do this, right? How much tread is on the tires for Derrick Henry? And like, he's approaching 30. He's getting up there in age, and he has just continuously answered the bell, been awesome, and been one of the game's top running backs really for the last 5-6 years now, the greater part of 5 or 6 years. And for it to be like, oh, boom, this is the day that Derrick is now a 30-year-old running back and hits his 30th birthday is also the same day he's addressing the media to talk about potentially his final game in a Titans uniform was just very ironic. But yeah, he was pumped up about his birthday. He was positive about his birthday. So it was good, positive vibes. And I think everybody appreciated having what I think was maybe Derrick's best press conference of the season a couple days before what might be his final game with the Titans.
Yeah, for sure. So let's hear from Derrick Henry yesterday on the potential last game for him in two-tone.
And real quick, Karen says Derrick said he's not talking to me. He was joking about not talking to the media after the game. He was like,
"Oh, what? Yeah, I've got that in the clip because it was funny."
Yeah, he ended up just saying like,
"I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding. I'll talk to you guys." Right.
Yeah,
So yeah, he will talk.
But you're right. There was a different like light, like not light of like bright, but weight of I thought Derrick Henry talking with you guys yesterday compared to a lot of the press conferences that he does. He's not the most energetic press conference in 8 years, but especially this season as rough as it's been. He's Pro Bowl the night before his 30th birthday. So there's a lot of not fourth straight, but fourth overall Pro Bowl. But here was Derrick Henry when asked about the potential of his last game on Sunday.
What do you anticipate Sunday being like driving to the stadium, going through your regular motions, but knowing there's at least potential that it's the last time you're doing it in the home locker room there?
Yeah, I would just treat it as any other game. I'm not trying to get too caught up, get too overwhelmed, and just enjoy the moment. Focus on finishing the season strong, going out there playing a good game overall as a team, and hopefully getting a win. And then after the game, having talked to no media, going straight home. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm kidding.
You think there'll be a moment somewhere along the way? I mean, there's obviously going to be an introduction and some fanfare when you leave the field and stuff like that.
I mean, it's definitely gonna be a moment. Just last game of the season. I'll be a free agent after this year. Been here 8 years, so just be grateful to whoever shows up, and I know the fans will come out, and hopefully we put on the show, be able to finish strong. But just grateful for the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, a really interesting, really good press conference, and something else, Austin, that I thought was good in that press conference that you kind of alluded to briefly was we also asked about his Pro Bowl nod. It was this weird culmination of like 3 different things. Final game of the season and potentially his Titans career, his birthday, he just got picked for the Pro Bowl again. One thing that I thought was interesting was Derrick talked about being selected for the Pro Bowl and was like, yeah, I certainly appreciated it. I'm not too proud of the season that I've had, though. Like he wasn't too pumped up about his performance, or maybe didn't feel like he was worthy of going to the Pro Bowl. And I followed up with a question to him of like, hey, do you have to have some self-forgiveness here? Show yourself a little grace. Like, you might not be at where you were at 2-3 years ago, but just because you're not rushing for 2,000 yards and running for 250 yards in a game doesn't mean you're not still one of the 6 or 7 best runners in the league. And it's like there's a Derrick Henry standard versus what the rest of the NFL perceives to be awesome. And I'm like, Derrick, you have to show yourself a little bit of grace to be like, all right, maybe it's a down year from my own standard, but like I'm still one of the best in the game. And he was like, no, I'm my own worst critic. So if I wasn't fueled for the future, I'm extra fueled now. And that was kind of interesting to me of like, this is absolutely a guy who turning 30 years old, knowing he's coming up on free agency, is not willing to lay down and is still like, hey, I'm ready to get back to the 2,000-yard Derrick Henry, and who knows what he would be able to do again behind a better offensive line.
Yeah.
And then, as you heard in that clip, not trying to get too sentimental just yet, trying to treat it like every other game and make sure before he worries about potentially being done, making sure he goes out with a bang.
Yeah, right. And he's still 5th in the NFL in rushing. Like, that's the most bizarre thing. And I think that tells you a lot about the game, is that Derrick Henry behind this offensive line cracks just over 1,000, not a lot over 1,000, just over 1,000 behind this offensive line, and already has played 16 games. And he's the 5th leading rusher. That tells you how rushing yards have changed and adjusted when it comes to players and volume and accumulation of stats and stuff across the new age NFL. And that kind of leads into the future discussions that we will get into next week about Derrick Henry's future, the Titans' offensive future, and all that stuff. But Sam, before we hear about Derrick Henry's favorite moment, Tony Dew's favorite Derrick Henry moment, our favorite moment, y'all's favorite moment watching on Facebook and YouTube. By the way, like the show. We need a lot more likes here on the show because for whatever reason, we're talking about the king and we need more likes on the show. So I kind of was thinking, listening to Derrick talk about, my 8 years here, my 8 seasons here. It made me think, and Bork was on it earlier. He said Henry has been around for A to Z since basically the beginning of the company. Oh, Sam, everybody. I mean, I remember walking up to the Williamson County clerk's office to go file the A to Z Media LLC paperwork on August 26th of 2016. That was like the end of Derrick Henry's rookie training camp. And so, we were doing radio during the 2016 draft. We got let go from that radio station during that summer. And that training camp was our first training camp on our own. And one of the first videos we posted on YouTube that got any type of views whatsoever was Derrick Henry being god-awful at running back drills. Like Sly Kroom, old Titans running back coach, former head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, a coaching legend, was chewing Derrick Henry out for his inability to do cone drills, to do any type of running back individual drills. And that video went for like 50,000 views. And Zach and I were like, oh, that's awesome. Like, look at this. Look at our brand new channel. We're doing something here. And so that was the beginning of A to Z. It was the beginning of Derrick Henry. He was wearing the jersey number 2 at that point in training camp. And so the irony and just the kind of like, I woke up to that thought of A to Z Sports and Derrick Henry in the NFL career have been literally aligned. And I don't know. I know Derrick Henry has helped us a ton because the Tennessee Titans were 5-27 in the 2 seasons before we formed our own company. Since then, they've been 9-7, 9-7, made the playoffs, 9-7, missed the playoffs, 9-7, went to the AFC Championship game, 10-6, won the division, 12-5, won the division and the 1 seed before, bottom, 7-10, and now here we are, right? So like the difference of all of that, right? The attention that we were able to get as an individual independent media outlet with me at 26 years old and Zach at like 28 or whatever he was, for us to be able to gain some traction. A lot of that was because Derrick Henry became a badass running back, and he didn't become a badass running back until 2018. So it was a couple years into it. But there was a lot of conversations that we've had about Derrick Henry, social posts about Derrick, him sharing some of our stuff, all this, everything. I'm kind of like, whoa, this is really something that I don't need to take for granted today, because if it is the last game for Derrick Henry, if I could talk to Derrick in a random setting, that I don't know if it is ever going to happen, I think I'd like to be able to express that type of gratitude for, hey man, like, you changed our lives as a company that allowed us to hire Sam and allowed us to hire everybody that we've had, and just kind of a little bit of a reflection that I've had in the last like 35 minutes since Sam and I planned the show this morning.
Yeah, I think so much of you ever heard the phrase, right? Luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
a big key of that is opportunity. And so much, I think, of getting involved in a wild business that is sports media and finding something that is successful can be lucky, can be finding that one team or that one player that people have an infatuation with to build and drive things. And so Derrick Henry, I think, for so many, I mean, not even just Titans media, but the Titans in general, like, have been put on the map as a notable NFL franchise from Derrick Henry almost single-handedly. I mean, Austin, I have the experience of not being from the Nashville area, watching NFL football pretty casually throughout my childhood, and then growing into a bigger NFL fan as I got older. And the Titans were always the Titans were that team, or if you ask me, name the most irrelevant or most random team that you could possibly name in the NFL. Throughout my entire life, it was probably, the Tennessee Titans. Who knows about anything about the Tennessee Titans? They were so irrelevant to me in every which way. They didn't feel like an NFL team. And over the last 6 or 7 years, with King Henry being the brand of Tennessee Titans football, this has grown into, honestly, a run that they've had as a franchise that not many franchises have, of what you mentioned: playoffs, competitive for the playoffs, AFC championships, 1 seeds, like a 5-6 year run that was ultra competitive. But they're getting a new stadium. They've become such a staple of Nashville's identity, of like a go-to thing that everybody wants to do as people migrate here to Nashville. A team that I think people nationally view as very relevant to the NFL landscape now. And a lot of that started with Derrick Henry. So I think for A to Z Sports, for the Titans organization, for Titans fans, for the city of Nashville, for anybody in the media that covers the Titans, Derrick Henry is somebody that you cannot take for granted, because he put a lot of extra people on the map with him. And so, yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure that if this is his final game with the Titans coming up this Sunday, that I got to spend my first 2 years on an NFL beat covering a future Hall of Famer that was one of the absolute best of his generation at what he does. So cannot take it for granted. And I think there's a lot of similarities to the growth of A to Z Sports, to the growth of the organization and the city as a whole. And that is what makes Derrick Henry so special to this community.
Yeah, no doubt. And before everybody gets triggered by Sam saying the Titans were relevant in his Chicago childhood, that was the case, because not what they did in '99, not what Steve McNair, Eddie George, Javon Curse, Frank Wycheck, Keith Bullock, and those Brad Hopkins and Blaine Bishop and all those guys, Derek Mason, what they did in the early 2000s. It's what happened from like 2007 to like 2016. It's that decade of ridiculous crap that the Titans were relevant, which is when Sam was kind of becoming a sports fan. So with that, we're going to hear from Derrick Henry on what his favorite run, and when he was asked about that. We'll also hear from Tony Dews, and we'll ask you guys, what is your favorite Derrick Henry moment over his 8 years as a Titans running back? What is your favorite Derrick Henry moment over the last 8 seasons with the King wearing 22 in two-tone blue? But first, I'm going to tell everybody about Krebs Kubota. They are Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment provider and where you should go for all of your equipment needs. KrebsKubota.com, is their website. They are an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across the entire mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, Murfreesboro, for all of what you need from your mowers, your trimmers, the small equipment you need around your house for those projects that need to happen in the spring. Or if you've got land out there in the county, then you can go get everything you need to get done there, big or small, with Krebs Kubota. An elite Kubota dealer means they have the best equipment in the industry, also the best warranties with said equipment in the industry as well. And the Krebs family, they truly mean it when they strive for customer service to be the best it can possibly be, to make sure that you're comfortable with your purchase, with your rental, with your equipment, with how to work it, with what you need next, and to get you set up for that. And when something goes wrong, they're right there to help you out too. KrebsKubota.com is where to go.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with the BetMGM app and get up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. That's a second chance to win big, up to $1,500, and whatever that first wager amount is goes back into your account, even if you lose when you sign up with the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Do your sports betting with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
Real quick, Brandon says, Kubota is such a fun word. You're right. I have a lot of fun saying Kubota every day. So we asked you guys, what's your favorite Derrick Henry moment? We'll get to those here in a second. And Derrick Henry was asked about his favorite moment by Terry McCormick yesterday.
He told me to ask later on a few weeks ago when I asked this, what has been your favorite run or moment since in the time you've been here?
Just ask me after Sunday, on Sunday. I haven't answered yet.
Still got another one in you?
Still got, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see after Sunday.
How are you going to celebrate your birthday?
Thank God for another one. Probably get some cupcakes or a birthday cake for my girl. My daughter's already been talking about it since she woke up, and she'll probably blow out the candles, probably a little spit on there because she's always she's always excited for it. So yeah, just thank God for another one, and spend the time with my girl and my daughter, and wake up tomorrow and see another day.
Derrick also showed up to the podium and was like, I was expecting gifts. Where are my gifts? I need presents from everybody. and was awaiting his birthday presents, which was funny.
Yeah, I wanted to keep that in there about his daughter and the cupcakes and the spit and stuff, because that also shows the evolution of Derrick Henry over 8 years, because there's no way in hell that Derrick Henry would have offered that up and been that fun at the podium or earlier on in his career, when it was just like, I'm here, this is what I'm supposed to do, I want to answer your questions, but I'm going to speak really quietly. But I did think that was great. So now let's hear from running backs coach Tony Dew on his favorite run. So here is Tony Dew's.
There's been a lot of good ones, and I think the obvious one is the 99-yarder. And for me, historically, obviously, it's only been done twice, but I think that was the moment that I feel like changed everything for him, because from that run on, it's been on an unbelievable run for himself, as well as helping this team to achieve some of the things that we've achieved as an organization. So I think, it's ironic because you go back, if you remember, he didn't even start that game. He was not a starter. Deion started the game, and he went in because we were on the 1-yard line and we were going to run the ball, and he pops out, and obviously there was a lot of broken tackles, and the run itself was unbelievable. But then I think I don't know if it was like whatever happened, but from that moment on, he continued to grow, continue to get better, obviously, and then the rest is what you could say is history.
That was an awesome conversation I got to have with Tony Dews yesterday, Austin. Because Derrick won't reminisce, I decided I'm going to go to the one guy who has been lockstep through just about all of Derrick's highs and lows over the last 5 or 6 years. And I thought that was a tremendous answer from Tony because of a play that obviously everybody remembers, but a play that did start the reign of King Henry and was the beginning of what has been the Hall of Fame stretch that we've now all gotten to witness. And yeah, also funny because I knew, but had kind of forgotten about the existence of Dion Lewis, to be honest. It just wasn't really wasn't something you think about, but he's like, yeah, Derrick wasn't even the starting running back. And then next thing you know, it's like that run and boom, he's here and hasn't looked back since.
Yeah, in that game, Derrick had 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry had 17 carries for 238 yards and averaged 14 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. That one was 99. He also had like a 50-yarder where he just torched Jalen Ramsey around the corner. That was also pretty iconic too. And I remember, Sam, speaking of the A to Z thing, the next day, that was a Thursday night football game. The next day, Friday morning, Zach and I were broadcasting live from Wilson County Hyundai, talking about, oh my gosh, where did this come from? And what is that going to project Derrick Henry into being? And Tony Dews was exactly correct. So we ask you guys, what is your favorite Derrick Henry moment? Denise says, so emotional. Why cry to the king? So Sam, I'll send you the chat on Facebook and YouTube to see what people's favorite moments are. I've got one that I settled on between 2, but I'll let you go to the chat first.
Yes, Scott says it's the 99-yard run against the Jaguars. John is with them as well. Luman says it's the passing touchdown. Which one? We've got a couple of them, but probably maybe the initial one, maybe the one in the playoffs, but a passing touchdown for Luman. Danny says the Josh Norman stiff arm because nobody deserved it more. Jake is with him.
Real quick, that play does not exist. That was a play there was a 5-yard procedure penalty. On Buffalo, and that play did not exist.
So you'll have to. My timelines are all jacked up with this, but is this the same game as the Taylor Lewan Josh Norman?
No, that was when he was playing with Washington.
Oh, that was so that's before. So there was already some tension with Josh Norman.
Yes, the Josh Norman game you're talking about with Lewan playing the fiddle.
Yeah, he's on Washington, and then
that was 2 weeks after the Jags 99-yard game, and then you had the COVID season is when Henry buried Josh Norman with the Bills. Yeah.
Okay,
but that game didn't. That play didn't count because they replayed the down or the.
It counted. It didn't. I'm saying it counted because it was a 6-yard run that nobody gives a shit about, right?
But that's the thing.
It's the moment of the.
It didn't go in the stats. The play was redone.
Nobody cared about the 6 yards he picked up. Everybody just cared about the photo op of watching Josh Norman horizontal, laying down horizontal across Derrick Henry mid-air as he just runs past him. That was the moment that everybody captured. I see a lot of 99-yarders. It's really hard to go against that Thursday night run against the Jags. The Norman run, the stiff arm against Norman. Darren says the stiff arm against Norman. Eric says the run to finish the game versus the Ravens in the playoffs. Edward says the carry that gets him the franchise rushing record, kind of waiting on a future carry for Derrick Henry. Let's see. We have stiff arming Norman DeMars, more 99-yard runs. The final game where he got 2,000. Henry is the secret quarterback. The first passing touchdown against the Ravens, jump pass to Corey Davis against the Ravens, destroying Baltimore in the playoffs. Taking us to the AFC Championship game and the stiff arm against Norman and that one Lions player. Does anybody even remember who that was? The guy that on the Lions that got stiff armed. Let's see.
Actually, yes. I believe his name was Alec Myers.
There you go. I see one comment that says Earl Thomas. I see. Let's see. I'm not sure I see anything else. It's a lot of 99-yard runs, Austin. It's hard not to pick that because it was.
Somebody said where did it go? Somebody mentioned the Jeremy, the overtime game-winning walk-off touchdown run in Baltimore in 2020. And I heard Mike Keith on with Buck on the Zone yesterday, and that is Mike Keith's favorite Derrick Henry run, is the walk-off 30-plus yarder overtime run against Baltimore with nobody in the stadium. Like, that was like COVID year. Baltimore had 0 human beings in the stadium that were not working personnel there. So that's a good one. Sam, I had mine come down to 2. And I'll tell you the one first that did not make my best favorite moment. But my second one was that last Houston Texans game in the 2020 season where the Titans won the AFC South and Derrick Henry simultaneously eclipsed 2,000 yards. Because in that game, the Tennessee Titans had to beat the Texans to win the division for the first time in a long time, I believe 2008. So they go into this game. Houston was kind of reeling, but Deshaun Watson was talented. Derrick was within striking distance of 2,000, but they had to win the football game. And Derrick Henry ran for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. And it wasn't to just get them or him the 2,000 yards. They needed all 250 to win the division because they won that game 41-38. Sam Sloman with the bank shot field goal to win the AFC South, and Derrick Henry, like on everything he had, right? 34 carries for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns to get the Titans a division win and to eclipse 2,000 yards. That was my number 2 play.
Yeah, I have a couple that were all runner-ups to me as well. The Norman one pops to mind as like not a great, like it just is an iconic. Everybody was like, "Did you see what Derrick Henry just did?" The 2019 the 99-yard run against Jacksonville was, I think, the moment that, as Tony Deuce said, everybody was like, what did it, like, who, Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry's turning into a great running back. And it was the culmination of like expectations that existed year after year after year, like up to that point of waiting for Derrick Henry to pop, waiting for this to go. Everybody knew how much physical ability was there. And even just like nationally, Derrick Henry was, people were waiting on it because like you get fantasy football and all that stuff. People would draft Derrick Henry every year, be like, this is the year he takes off, right? And then you end up sitting there with him on your bench because he's not getting the lion's share of the carries. I remember I had Derrick Henry for that game in fantasy. I don't even remember where I was at that time, but it was like the first round of the playoffs or whatever. He puts up 230 and 4 touchdowns or whatever, goes for 50-something points. And everybody said, yeah, there's the moment Derrick Henry became an RB1 and one of the league's top guys. Another one that I have to mention is 53 yards, I believe it is, against the Houston Texans in the final game in week 17. Not the week that he went for 200 plus and won them a division, but the year he first won his first rushing title. He capped it off with like a last second big run to ice the game, win the rushing title. So those are all ones that come to mind that are not my number one moment.
Yeah. And Caleb says, this feels like a eulogy. I hate this. I said that to Sam. I was like, I feel like all of Titans national media is doing Derrick Henry eulogies today. But look, I mean, I think I would rather do this and Derrick Henry come back next year than not do this and Derrick Henry be not back next year. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's how I would say about
and
that.
Bork says, if when Derrick Henry gets into the Hall of Fame, should they make a bust of his head or his arm? His head. And then the Titans need to build a Derrick Henry statue at the new stadium of him stiff-arming Josh Norman. Or, all right, here's the question for the chat. Impromptu question. Derrick Henry gets one statue at the new Titans stadium. Is it him stiff-arming Josh Norman, and you see the player going horizontal across him, and it's that iconic freeze frame? Or is it Derrick Henry beating his chest with a pair of hands doing the crown behind him? Is it him getting crowned by somebody, or
Ooh.
is it the Josh Norman stiff arm? That is a tough one. I don't know what I'd rather see on a statue.
I mean, the picture I used for the graphic is a pretty good statue type picture too.
Well, yeah, but I feel like it needs to be something like iconic here.
Yeah,
And we
but
need
and so I picked that picture for a reason, because that picture was from the game that I have my favorite Derrick Henry moment, and it was the Earl Thomas stiff arm against the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, and the performance that was Derrick Henry going for 195 after going for 180 against the Patriots the week before, and the Titans blowing out Lamar Jackson, MVP, and the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore to go to the AFC Championship game. And the stiff arm to Earl Thomas's back, turning him in to a lead blocker for a few yards, and literally ended Earl Thomas's career. Like, Earl Thomas, after that moment, did not have another positive experience in the NFL. He was donezo. It got weird with Earl Thomas real quick.
Yeah,
And you
it
could
got
Google
weird.
Earl Thomas and his brother or whatever,
Well,
and
yeah.
at your own discretion, not on your
Family
work
show.
computer.
Family show, yeah.
Yes, yeah, not on your work computer. But Derrick Henry just little boying Earl Thomas near that sideline, and that moment, because I'm thinking of, okay, where was I? Because I think of all of these big moments from Derrick Henry, and where were you? What area were you in physically and then mentally? Because physically, Zach and I were at the Mainstay where we did all those game day shows for years. And then where was I mentally? The Titans are winning this game. They're going to the AFC Championship game. Derrick Henry has run for nearly 400 yards the last two playoff games. They've got A.J. Brown. They've got a legit defense. They can beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs next week. Oh my God, the Titans are going to the Super Bowl, and I am too to cover it. That's exactly where I immediately jumped to after Derrick Henry stiffed arm Earl Thomas. Later on, he had another 66-yard run. Then he threw the jump pass to Corey Davis, which I think could be another statue option, is the jump pass formation. But I think that is my favorite Derrick Henry moment of the posterizing of Earl Thomas and what it represented for the Titans upset, like a 13.5-point underdog against the Baltimore Ravens as a wild card team with the MVP who had the 1 seed, just stonewalling them. And that entire game was epic from the Tennessee Titans, from Kevin Byard's interception on Lamar early, from Jonnu Smith's touchdown catch, from Khalif Raymond bomb from Ryan Tannehill, to David Long Jr. and Jarrell Casey blowing up some run plays on 4th down, to Derrick Henry bodying everybody, and the jump pass to Corey Davis for the icing on top. That it just made everything was like, holy bleep, the Titans are about to shock everybody in a dominant fashion.
Yeah. So I guess then your answer to the statue question is you want a stiff arm on the statue. Is that your?
I don't know. I'll have to think, because there's a lot of
I think I legitimately, unbiased, not a Titans fan, legitimately probably one of my top 3 iconic celebrations in sports is Derrick Henry being crowned by a teammate after he scores a touchdown. I think that is so sick, so clever, so unique. Like, whether it be Corey Davis or AJ or NWI or Tannehill, whatever, maybe you don't even need another player. Maybe maybe it's a generic player that you have doing it or something like that. But on Derrick Henry's statue, I feel like it needs to have somebody putting the crown.
No, I do think that's the best statue option.
That is such, like, I love it. I think it's the coolest thing that has existed in like NFL branding, for him being King Henry and having, like, it's awesome. And I think when you remember him, that's a great way for Titans fans to remember him.
For sure.
So that's my idea. I just thought of it right now. And if it ever, maybe I'll put in word to Miss Amy next time I see her
There you
walking
go.
around. It's like, hey, if you're building something around the new stadium. Austin, my moment, we've already mentioned briefly. Weird that it's my moment because I don't think it's the best run. I don't think it's the most iconic run. It's not the most electric or even necessarily memorable, but it's the one that for whatever reason sticks out in my brain. And it is against the Baltimore Ravens. And it's the overtime run that you mentioned that I didn't even know was Mike Keith's favorite run as well to cap off a regular season game. And the reason why is because of what you said. Where were you? That's the one Derrick Henry run that I remember exactly where I was watching it live when it happened. And I remember all of the feelings. I had a weird relationship with the Titans at the time because I was in between. When I lived in Chicago, I loved the Titans. I always rooted for the underdog and the little guy. I always rooted for those weird teams, those irrelevant teams to me. It was like, I loved the Jaguars too, but I'm like, put the Jags in the playoffs, I'm rooting for the Jags. Put the Titans in the playoffs, I'm rooting for the Titans. I liked it when teams that hadn't had a ton of success recently found success. And so I was a big Titans guy. I thought their branding was very cool. I liked them. And then I got down to Tennessee and I was kind of like, there's some jarring back and forth with Titans fan friends where I'm like, the Bears are better than the Titans. We're kind of going back and forth. And the Bears had some pretty good years in 18 and 19 as well. And there was still some expectations for the Bears in 2020. And Titans fans obviously had expectations up here in 2020 after going to the AFC Championship game. I remember watching the Titans start to slowly unravel a little bit that year. They started off so hot. They got off to this big, I think they started 5-0 or 4-0 or something.
Yeah,
had
5-0.
been scuffling, lost some games that they should have won. They were 6-4 at the time. Titans fans are feeling like, man, this is not the type of thing that we need to get going. And I was watching with a couple Titans fan friends of mine were watching the game and watching Derrick Henry run it to the left, set the edge, burst down the side, then just sidestep everybody, and he's gone into the end zone. Boom, game over just like that. Dunzo, see you later. Was the moment that I went, man, this guy can legitimately carry this team to a Super Bowl. That was the first time that I said, you're going up against Baltimore, and none of it mattered because they were able to give the ball to number 22. And when Titans fans were on the brink of 6-5 and choking away this great start to the season, Derrick said, give me the ball, watch this. And it lives in my brain as like a famous Derrick Henry calls game type of moment that is my favorite run that I've ever watched of his, especially because it's one of the ones I think I was for sure watching live, and I don't remember necessarily watching some of these other ones live.
Yeah, there's a ton, and I'm excited to see what Derrick Henry says after that game. We got a couple super chats around the Derrick Henry conversation that we get to. Then we get to a Will Levis update. Darren says, Google Derrick Henry right now, and you'll see Norman sideways, super Manning to the sidelines, peak Henry moment. No doubt about that. And then Juan comes in and says, and then Vrabel's ego got in the way against the Chiefs. Yeah, if you want to go down memory lane, Dean Pease apparently not calling the defensive plays for the Titans in that AFC title game against the Chiefs. And I don't know if that's Vrabel's ego getting in the way, but Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things, running by an injured Rashaan Evans to set up a touchdown late. It was just really a tough thing to see, but they were so close, and it was such a magical ride through the last 3 to 4 weeks of that season and playoff run that was, made possible by Derrick Henry being untackleable for 3 or 4 consecutive weeks there at the end of the regular season and into the playoffs. So a lot of incredible Derrick Henry moments. And look, I'm very interested to see what Sunday's like. And will say what I said earlier. I hope Titans fans show up, and I hope Nissan Stadium is a great environment for the potential of Derrick Henry's last game, and along with Ryan.
I need a touchdown, and
Yeah.
I need Henry chance, and I need that would be a great way. Like, whether or not the Titans win the game, I don't know. I'm not sure Titans fans even really care, but like you'd like to have one or two Derrick Henry moments in this game to really appreciate it. And I'm really curious. I'm hopeful. Titans, if you're listening, introduce the offense. Introduce the offense.
Yeah, of course they have to. They absolutely have
I mean,
to.
they switch it up sometimes, and they mess it up sometimes. So introduce the offense, let Derrick Henry maybe go last, and let the audience do their thing.
But when they introduce the offense, who will be the quarterback announced? And Sam, we'll get to that here in a second. But first, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute, they're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Don't fumble on your recovery, and whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and you can trust our folks at the Bone and Joint Institute. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility located out in Franklin with everything you need to assist in your recovery, from clinic to rehab, surgery, imaging, testing. It's all in one spot at the Bone and Joint Institute. It's your one-stop shop, so you're not driving all over Middle Tennessee, point A to point B, to get to different appointments. Just go see them out in Franklin for good and reliable care from the best doctors in the game, and schedule your appointment at boneandjointtn.org.
All right. And as always, you got to make sure you check out BetMGM. Download that app. Use our bonus code ATOZ Sports. And you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. That's only when you set up with our bonus code ATOZ Sports with the BetMGM app, and win big as always. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification. Other requirements. First online room when wager only. Awards issued non-double bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem games, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Sam, let's go to the practice field, because Will Levis was out there practicing on Thursday. And we'll play the video. We can talk over it, but with two bad feet, a bad left ankle and a bad banged up right foot, he's out there running around, working through it. What did you see from Will Levis yesterday on the practice field?
Yeah, I mean, it looked a lot different than what I saw from him last week. This time last week, he was whipping around, bouncing, dancing to the music. It looked like his normal healthy self going through drills at full speed. This version of Will Levis, I think, while he was practicing, was good to see. He a little bit more ginger on his leg. I think he was protecting himself a little bit more. So maybe more of a red flag for me personally, as far as will he play or not. I've been very clear on my stance on this, Austin, that I think if he's healthy, he should absolutely play. But I've also been very clear that if he is limited in protecting himself and he is looking kind of like walking around gingerly, like you kind of see there at some moments, that it's not worth it. And that's not a formative rep or something that the Titans should do. So right now, as things sit right now, if you ask me to predict, I would say Ryan Tannehill gets the ball and starts for the Titans on Sunday. We'll see how Will Levis looks today. Granted, we're not going to be able to watch him in drills today. He'll probably be out there stretching, and that will be it. That's kind of how Fridays work. Yeah. So, I think I lean towards Levis sitting in this game, just because I was not convinced from what I saw at practice that he's 100% feeling good and healthy.
All right, well, let's compare. Let's look at last Thursday when he was coming off the ankle injury. And this is last week, right before the foot injury. And let's see if we can feel the difference of energy between Levis with the left ankle only versus Levis with both.
An interesting, obviously note here is which leg, right? And the ankle was on the left leg. And so I think he's able to plant with a lot more authority. He's able to move around, and that torque right there, that whip that you see, is something that I don't think we really saw, or even the speed in some of these dropbacks, with it being on his right leg, his plant leg of the foot. This one right here, this first rep, I put it at the front. This was the damning one for me because he's a little, look at the way he
Fadeaway.
kind of hops off there. That
He
looked
does that
uncomfortable.
though. Like he kind of has that little like hop thing that he just kind of does. And I noticed that in training camp, even when he was healthy, that he kind of does that weird little like quick step, like hop stuff quite often. But definitely,
I've seen this drill. I've seen him do this drill
Yeah,
every day for 5 months now, and I think that this was less physical, less aggressive, not at full
Yep.
speed to what I normally see. And I mean, I think I pulled. I mean, there's a chance that he still improves, right? That he feels good today and he plays. I'm not sure I've seen it. I knew yesterday, Wednesday afternoon, from the second I watched him in practice, I walked up that field, said, he's starting on Sunday. No doubt in my mind. I'm not as
Wednesday.
last week.
Okay,
Yeah.
last week.
Last week I saw him Wednesday. I saw him. That video that you just played of him doing those QB drills was filmed on Wednesday of last week. I saw it. I walked off, said he's playing, no question. It's conversation open and shut because he looks like himself. He looks like he's looked all year. I did not get that same overwhelming feeling of like he's definitely playing this week. So we'll see. I mean, it's still very much a toss-up to me about whether or not the Titans put him out there.
All right, let's do that prediction. Let's ask the chat here prediction time. Not like should he play, should he not play, because we've done that, a dozen times already. And Sam had his fair share of hate on Sunday during the game day shows, and I took the beating on Tuesday after the new year when I said it was the correct move to start him versus the Texans last week. But prediction, do you think the Titans will play him against the Jags? Not should they, in your opinion, but we're trying to predict the Titans because I feel like.
Well, and let me say,
go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me say real quick, they've doubled down on everything that I think they should have doubled down on, which is, I mean, Tim Kelly talked about how important it is for him to play. I talked to Charles London yesterday, the quarterback coach, about why he feels like Will needs to play in this game if possible. So they've doubled down on their stance. You and I both believe that's the correct stance and the correct idea. And I know chat doesn't disagree with that, but I do think that if he's healthy, the Titans are going to play, and we just are not sure where that line is drawn by the organization. And so that's why we're asking the question today of where we think the Titans will fall on this come Sunday afternoon.
All right, so what do you think? I guess I'll send you the chat first. The chat, like predicting, what is the chat saying about this? Will the Titans start him or not?
We've got he doesn't play, says Danny. No, unfortunately, says John. No from Billy. No from Ashley and Brad. Jake says probably yes. Not a chance, says Johnny. No from Albert. Yes from Deborah. No from Tighten Up. Richie, Jody, and Titans Kyle. I see a no from Willie. I see a yes from Fade. I see nope, it's Tannehill's last game from Burning Devil. I see a no from Rooney. I see... Let's see. Titans will start Levis from Roger. I see he won't play from Daniel, and that he would be the backup from Chris. And Denise wants them to play John Wick, which is Ryan Tannehill. So, Austin, do the Titans play Will Levis on Sunday?
I'm going to have multiple predictions here.
Okay.
You can call this a parlay with our friends at BetMGM. Okay. You can call us a parlay. So I don't think Mike Vrabel will tell you guys this afternoon if Will Levis is going to play.
I agree. He told us last week or gave us a pretty good indication that she did tell us he was in line to start.
So I'm going to the first leg of my parlay. Mike Vrabel will not say, well, we're going to see how he feels going into it. There's no travel, right? They're at home. So my first leg of the parlay, Mike Vrabel will not say one way or the other today after practice. The second leg of my parlay is Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport at some point Sunday afternoon / Sunday evening will Saturday. Will report that Ryan Tannehill is likely to start for the Tennessee Titans versus the Jags. The third leg of my parlay is that Will Levis will be the backup to Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis will be the inactive emergency quarterback. Those are my 3-leg parlay on the Will Levis situation here.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I think is an essential piece of information is that Will Levis Wednesday, that video that we played, was leading off all of the Titans reps, all of the quarterback drills and reps. He was taking third or second rep yesterday at practice. Ryan Tannehill was taking that first rep, usually an indicator of who's in line to be the starting quarterback. So last week, Levis was first guy in. Yesterday, he was the third guy in, and then occasionally would bump in ahead of Malik and be the second guy in. And so I fully agree that he will be active on game day, and Ryan Tannehill will be the starter. That's going to be my prediction as well as things currently sit.
And Billy says, I think Levis will be third. No, I think there's the side note. The Tennessee Titans would be
football game, and so they're not.
The Tennessee Titans would be misusing the emergency quarterback rule if Will Levis is the third quarterback.
Correct.
You know, like right. Like the whole point of the third quarterback rule is that the only time that person can play is if the first two guys are deemed unhealthy to play. And so if Ryan Tannehill's
he's got a pre-existing injury, you can easily rule Will Levis unhealthy to play if things are not going well.
Yeah, like if Tannehill gets hurt and Levis is the backup, Levis goes in, he goes for a series, and it's just not working. Okay, now you can rule Will Levis out, and now Malik can be your third emergency guy, and that's how that works, right? But if Malik is the second quarterback and something happens to Tannehill and Malik, now you're putting in an already recovering injured guy as your emergency last leg option, and that's just not how that should work whatsoever. So let's just go ahead and get out in front of that. If Will Levis is the inactive emergency quarterback, then the Titans are misusing the rule blatantly, and that needs to be paid attention to if it happens.
Yeah, totally agree. I think he's the backup, and Malik is the third string. That's what they've done all year. They want to win the football game, and they definitely believe Tannehill and or Levis gives them the best chance to win that game over somebody like Malik Willis right now.
All right, Sam, it is time for us to get to good news. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans is where you should turn for your health coverage. Lean and depend on Farm Bureau Health Plans, just like Tennesseans have been doing for over 75 years, regardless of your situation, your financial situation, your family situation, your job status, whatever it is. Farm Bureau Health Plans can make sure that they can help you get the right coverage for your health, whether it's dental, vision, different variances of plans, different levels of coverage for you, and whatever that situation may be. Farm Bureau Health Plans across the entire state. They invest in the Titans. They invest in the Tennessee Vols, other colleges, high schools, and communities across the entire state. And get started. It's super easy at fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Sam, it is now time for good news. And as always, shout out Wilson County Hyundai to make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see Painbone, our buddy, and his team in Lebanon, or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Good news for the chat. Bring it. It's Friday. It's the first good news of 2024. So share your good news. We will share our good news and ride into the weekend. Although, Sam, you do have Titans at 2 this afternoon. After Titans practice. So you'll be back before.
Might be a bit delayed Titans at 2. We've got some scheduling conflicts we'll have to figure out. But
okay, Titans at 2.
Sometime this afternoon. It might be another Titans at 2 at 4. I don't know. But sometime this afternoon, we'll have a show for Titans at 2.
Titans at 2 Pacific time.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to put that in the title, because every time somebody's like, I thought this was Titans at 2. It's like, we've been over this, guys. Sometimes I'm not readily available at 2:00 because I'm doing some other thing with practice or the team, or I'm in the locker room at 2:00, and I can't always be live from the locker room ever. Actually, I could
Mm-mm.
never be live from the
No.
locker room. We could
You
try
would
it
be
one
banned.
time, but I'd probably get shut down pretty quickly.
Yes, you'd be banned. All right, so Sam, I'll send you to the chat. Good news from the chat today.
Yeah, good news from the chat today. We've got Ronnie says good news, all the tailgaters out there for the great one will be back Sunday. Let's see. We've got good news. Jason says, I've gained a lot of weight over the holidays. Now he has a good reason to exercise. There you go.
Nice.
Getting in the gym in the new year here. Denise says, good news. Henry could be back next year. Jeff says, double good news. The Colts are playing for the playoffs Saturday night, and Ohio State got Will Howard. So he's doing a victory lap there. Let's see. We got good news. Zach and his dad are heading to the Titans game on Sunday. That'll be a nice little
Acme
father's
rooftop. Yeah, come see us at Acme. Jack and I'll be down
beforehand is
there.
what you're saying, or
Huh?
after? Are you saying before or after?
Either, both. Sure.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, Zach, Austin will be at Acme. Let's see. Darren says, good news. This season is almost over. Just one more game to go. We've got good news. It's Nico time in Tennessee from Mr. Jones. He's loving what he saw from Nico. I'm sure you are too, Austin, after that bowl game victory. Let's see what else we got. Good news. Roger says he moved to a good part of Tennessee. Good news. Amanda won't have to watch this team soon, and says she's pumped about that. Real quick, Nick did have a side question about, did I ever do a video on draft tiebreakers? Guess what? Titans at 2 on, baby. Titans at 2 is going into the I went into the weeds, did multiple hours of research on draft tiebreakers. So, Nick, that's coming up this afternoon. If you can't join me live for it, it will be on YouTube as part of Titans at 2 on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel. Sam's good news is that his cousin is getting married in Boca Raton this weekend, which is sweet. I have 2 things of good news, Austin. I'll start with my baby good news, which, I have to throw this out there. It's Big Ten national championship game. That's
Big
crazy.
Ten title game.
That's crazy. It's 2 Big Ten teams in the title game.
Big Ten. Well, not yet. They're not officially Big Ten.
I'm just
the Pac-12. Look, the Pac-12 needs this.
Some are saying that SEC's on the hot seat with a couple Big Ten teams in the championship game. That's just what people are talking about. So I had to throw that out there. It was good news there. And Michigan beat Bammer, which was great for me. Was pumped about that. Good for my narratives. My other good news is that I'm moving right after the last Titans game of the season, and locker room clean out day and Black Monday and some of the the residual few days after the season ends, covering all this stuff that's going to come out. I will be trying to find a day next week to move into my new apartment, which has been sitting empty for the last 5 days of January since I started paying rent on the place. So I need to get in there so that I'm not paying for somewhere I'm not inhabiting. But hopefully pretty soon I'm moving, and I'm pumped to move. Great location, and a little bit of a needed change of scenery for me. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so no more dogs barking above you. No more
Correct.
Your car getting towed because of they're trying to pave the parking lot and didn't tell you about it.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of things.
No more battling Green Hills traffic through Hillsborough Road that makes you late for a press conference or an availability, right?
Yeah, because for whatever reason, one day the entrance to the highway off Hillsborough Road is shut down. And so then you're just stuck in cars for like 50 minutes, or if there's an accident and you can't get out, Hillsborough Road's a nightmare. No more of that. I have a gym in my building now, which will be like nice. That's a win for me, that a convenience that I think will be nice. So yeah, there's a lot of pluses. I'm excited to make the transition.
There you go. Real quick, Jeff says, Austin, you know damn well you'd say it's all SEC if it was Bama, Texas. No, I wouldn't have, because I was making fun of the potential of people to say Texas can be the SEC's representation if Bama and Georgia both got left out. So I made the joke at the SEC, and I don't think SEC pride is a smart thing. I think it's stupid. It's bad for my alma mater, the Tennessee Volunteers, for Georgia or Alabama or Florida or anybody across the SEC to have any type of success. It was bad for Tennessee that Missouri beat Ohio State. It's not good. It's bad. I don't give a damn about the SEC's bowl record. It does not matter. All that matters is that Nico had 3 rushing touchdowns against the defense. He gave up 4 rushing touchdowns all season, and then the Vols beat
I will say
Iowa
this.
35-0.
Do
That's
we
all that
think
matters
that might be different? I normally would kind of agree with you. That might be different now with the 12-team playoff moving forward, because I do think you could be a 3-loss Tennessee team and get in the playoff as number 11 or as number 10 simply off of the fact that we play in the SEC and look how good the SEC's done in the college football playoff in the past. I legitimately think that there is something to that, where normally I get it, right? In an NIL world and a recruiting like craziness, right? The more that the rest of the teams in your conference are thriving and you're not on their level, that's bad, right?
No, here's a way to put it. Like, if Tennessee's in the situation to be in the conversation of the top 12 or seating within it or in the bubble to get in, and it's the last week of the regular season, and Florida's playing Florida State, and Tennessee's played Florida and beaten Florida, and other teams on Tennessee's schedule that you have beaten are playing a game, yeah, I would want Florida to beat Florida State to improve the strength of schedule. There are situations where I can say that.
But I think that carries over year to year now. And I think you see it when you look at the committee.
Recruiting is everything. The worst thing that could have happened was Georgia winning a national title.
The committee loves the SEC even when they suck and they go under 500 against the ACC and Big Ten like they did this year. They still favor the SEC. The more success the SEC has, the more favor they're going to get from the committee and bowl committees and other teams moving forward. So I do think there is something to, hey, if three SEC teams make the 12-team college football playoff and they all win their first round game and they're all going to like the semifinal or something, next year the SEC's 4th team might get a little bit more favor to potentially get in than it would the year before. I think there is something to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a new system.
We'll for a Big Ten fan, right? If Ohio State and Michigan starting next year in the 12-team playoff, if Ohio State and Michigan go to like the college football semifinal or final even, and they both make runs every year, you are more likely to see that 3rd best team in the Big Ten sneak into the back end of that top 12, because there will be a reputation of, well, Michigan and Ohio State are in that same elite conversation.
I mean, but I disagree, because now every year there's 25 kids in the transfer portal for just about every school.
True.
And teams change more year to year than they used to. So I don't think that necessarily matters as much, but I get your point, but I don't necessarily, I still think conference pride is a ridiculous thing to try to die on when it comes to the hill of college football discussion. But my good news this week is that, it is Derrick Henry called it a long, short season, or a short, long season, one way or the other. And it is that. It's the fact that we know when the Titans season is ending. That's the first time we've been able to say that in a long time, since the 2016 season, the first time that we knew when the Titans year was going to end. And it is Sunday. It's also the last day that we'll be at Acme for this season. And I want to say to everybody who's come to Acme and said hey to us throughout the year, everybody at Acme and everybody involved with our Titans game day coverage, there is a bittersweet a little bit of the last game of the season without a playoff opportunity hanging over. And so that is a little bit of a bummer. But we are at Acme for the last time. And so if you want to go to the game, or if you're not going to the game, come down to Acme. Shout out Spirited Hive and Ranch Water, been with us all season long for their game day specials, to come see Jack and I down on the rooftop at Acme for the season finale, to send Derrick Henry and other Titans off potentially. It's more than just it's more than just Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill, Danico Autry, other guys could be playing their last game in two-tone blue. So that's one good news. And my other good news is SEC basketball schedule starts on Saturday, and Tennessee gets to host Ole Miss, which should be a very entertaining game before we get into all the NFL playoff action where there's chaos to ensue. So that's my double good news.
This is my prime right here. College basketball time, baby. I'm in the thick of Big Ten season already, and I'm loving it right now. So big one for the Illini tonight. The number one Boilermakers might be going down at home. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Illini are a wagon right now.
We'll see if it happens. But Sam, you'll be live later today for Titans at 2 Pacific time, maybe. Make sure you like the show here on Facebook and YouTube. Please hit that like button. We need as many likes as possible. Sam, will see you later on for some draft order situations, and then I'll see you on Sunday morning from Acme for our pregame show. Have a great start to your weekend. Appreciate it as always.